All right, y'all. How you doing today? Okay. All right, we're going to get started today. As you can see, we're out here in the garage and just give you a little update on what's been going on here. Um, got the rear axle in the truck. Very simple, very straightforward, easy, just really, really easy. Okay. I'll just go ahead and tell you. These trucks, they were originally conceived with the 8 3/4 rear axle. I know. Let me just get something out of the way. This is a 92 model. I got it. You're not telling me nothing I don't know. Um, in 81, they done the restyle. This crease that runs down the bed there, and then there's another crease that picks up in the door and does the same thing at the front fender. Okay, there's a bunch of little stuff that separates these later trucks from the earlier trucks. However, the same basic style between the two. Okay? The same basic style. I'm not saying exactly the same because they're not. I'm just saying the same general basic style. Okay? So let's get that out of the way in case anybody wants to hammer me in the comments about that. But okay, the 8 3/4, as you can see, it's in. It's went right in, bolts right in, no issues whatsoever. The only thing I've really gotten done so far is just bolting this in. And I reused the stock shock plates from the 8 1/4 or 9 3/4. I'm sorry, 9 1/4. Sorry, 9 1/4, not 9 3/4. So 9 3/4 being a Dana 60, which I do not have. This is the 8 3/4. There was a 9 1/4 in this truck originally. I swapped that out about a year and a half ago to put in an 8 1/4 because the 9 1/4 was giving me some issues. I've never really been able to get those issues worked out. So now I'm swapping over to the 8 3/4. This is a truck housing, okay? So this housing is the same width as the 8 1/4, or roughly the same width as the 8 1/4, the 9 1/4. Okay? The pinion angle looks to be pretty good to me. Looks to be about the same as like what I would see with the 8 1/4 or the 9 1/4. If I have to adjust it, I will probably use some sort of shims or something like that. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. Like I said, it looks to be roughly the same. The parking brake cable, I've got to come up with a bracket to keep that in place. And my brake line, my metal brake line there on the rear axle, I got to come up with a bracket for that to hold that in place too, to keep that from like moving around and doing whatever it wants to. I've still got to hook up the brake lines, bleed the wheel cylinders, hook up the shocks, and I've got to put that other axle in over there on the passenger side, just like this one. So I'm going to go over how to put the axle in and show you one little peculiarity about the 8 3/4 that some other rear axles don't have. Okay, some other axles don't have. Okay, some of them do have that peculiarity. Some do not. Okay. All right. So let's get over here to my workbench and get started. Okay. Now, the 8 3/4 is a little unusual. I'm not saying it's some kind of freak or nothing like that. It's just it's a little unusual in that it requires the bearings to be packed in grease like a front wheel bearing would be on the front of that truck. Okay, so what you're looking at is you can think of this as just like a regular wheel bearing in the front brake hub of, let's say, some, you know, early 90s and back car, truck, van, whatever. Okay, so this isn't much different. This does not get lubricated by the gear oil that lubricates the differential. Okay, so that's why there is a seal that rides right here. Okay, that seal is in the housing, and you can see there's a little area right there where a seal was riding. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack the bearing full of grease. This is really easy. It's really simple. There's not a lot of, witchcraft or nothing to it. It's pretty simple. It's really, really, I mean, when you learn how to do it, you'll be like, wow, is that it? So, okay. But nothing really all that crazy. You can use gloves if you like. I'm not going to, but you can if you like. It's up to you. Now, all we got to do first is I've got this neat little tip here that squeezes grease out in like a, let's see, can I get the camera to focus? Yeah, see? All right, see that? Yeah. Okay, that's what this little tip does. Okay, so I'm going to put it down there like so, and I'm going to see. Now that helps a little bit in squeezing some grease down in there. A little, not a lot, a little. Now my grease gun, I've just got it like clamped up in the vise, lightly clamped up in the vise here. So it's not like I've got it. Now if you do this, even with gloves on, you're going to get grease everywhere. So, and this takes time. So don't be impatient. Don't be getting all flustered and everything, okay? Packing wheel bearings is, it's an age-old thing, that mechanics have been doing for a long, long time. It's not very hard, but it is very important to get it done correctly. Now, if I was replacing these bearings, which I'm not, and the reason I'm not is because they're in really, really good shape. But I'm not replacing these bearings, so I need to pack them with grease. I cleaned out all the old grease. I need to put something in there to lubricate the bearings. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay. Now, just really, really simple. All you got to do is just use your finger. I'm using my finger sort of like in the shape of a C. Okay. So I'm just going to take the grease and I'm just going to push it down into that cavity of the bearing. Okay. That's all I'm doing. It's really not that hard. Now, it's a little difficult, with the bearing still being on the axle. I do realize, but that's just the way it goes. So, and I'm going to move the axle around quite a few times during all of this. So, this is, like I said, this is not hard. Easy, easy, simple, simple. Now, this results in the bearing being fully lubricated with plenty of grease and no air pockets in there, which is what you're eliminating. You want to get the air out and you want to get the grease in. You get the grease in, guess what happens? Fully lubricated bearing that's not going anywhere. Okay, that is not going anywhere. So that's what you got to do when you're packing a bearing. And this is the same procedure regardless. I don't care what kind of bearing you're talking about. I don't care what kind of vehicle you're talking about. If you're packing grease into a wheel bearing, this is pretty much the same process. Now, I will admit, a lot of guys, they'll do this number here. They'll go and they'll have they'll put some grease in the palm of their hand, okay, and they'll, like this here, they'll do this number. All right, they'll have a big wad of grease, even bigger than that, of course, in the palm of their hand, and then they'll take a bearing and they'll sit there and they'll squish it into the bearing, okay, out of the palm of their hand. They'll squish it into the bearing, okay, and they're just squishing it into that open gap there between the race and the cage, okay. So this is the cage here, okay. This is the race. So they're just squeezing the grease in there. That's all they're doing, okay. Now, you might think to yourself, well, hey, why don't I just pack the grease in through here, through all these little gaps, or maybe on this side? Well, the thing of it is, what you want to do is you want to squeeze the grease in from the larger side. I mean, you can do it from the other side, but you're a little more successful if you go this way. Reason being is, look at the shape of the bearing. It tapers down, hence it's called a tapered bearing. As it tapers down, you're pushing grease in there. You're forcing out anything that could be in here, any sort of contaminants, any old grease, any sort of cleaner, dirt, grit, whatever. You're forcing out the bottom. Okay, you're forcing it out the bottom, and that, of course, you don't want to reuse that, but that's what I'm talking about. All right, so. But that's what you do when you're packing a bearing. And it doesn't matter, you can be packing a wheel bearing on just about any kind of vehicle out there. This is what people are doing. Okay? Now, this would be, like I said earlier, this would be tremendously easier if I didn't have this on the axle. But I'm not going to go and take this off the axle, fill it full of grease, pack it full, and then put it back on the axle. Okay. Like I said, this is one of the original axle bearings. I think it's going to be just fine. It looks excellent. I haven't seen anything that has made me question its abilities as a bearing. So I think it's going to do an excellent job. Okay. I'm going to go and I'm going to pause this because you've got the basic gist of this, and then I'm going to show you a little bit more a little bit later, okay? But this is all going to work. So I'll be right back. Okay, y'all. All right. This job is done. Okay, so like I was showing you, you want to basically shape your finger to the axle there and force down with the side of your finger here, okay? And force down and force the grease down in through there. Now this is just basic hydraulics. That's all you're doing, okay? So you're just forcing the grease in there. You're taking up all the air gaps, okay? Let me show you right here. As you can see, there is grease in there, okay? So that is what we want. Now, I'm going to clean up this mounting plate here, okay? And I'm going to clean up the backing plate just a little bit that goes on the axle, because I'm going to use a sealant on this and the backing plate so that all of this is nice and sealed and we're not getting moisture and dirt and crud in there, okay? And this tip here and this one, they're okay. Okay, I think they make a smaller, finer tip to go on something like this that will, more like a needle that will go down in there. That probably would have helped me out even more. If you can find something like that at your local auto parts store, even better. But that's the basic gist of this here. All right, so let's get that cleaned up, and I will show you what I'm going to use to seal that with. Just wipe this off, basically, because this plate here, I cleaned it up previously. I'm just getting the excess grease off right here. Now, when you go to put this on, you probably want to put a little extra grease in the housing where this is going to sit. That will force a little more grease through everything. Okay? All right. Simple, simple, simple. Now, I am going to use a all right, I'm going to use this here. It's Permatex number 2 non-hardening forma gasket sealant. You can use this. You can use silicone. You can even have, they even make a foam gasket that goes on here. Those work pretty well. Basically, you just want to use something. Paper gasket even. Whatever. Okay. So. Just smear a little thin film of it everywhere. And you don't have to get real crazy with it. Okay. So there we go. All right. That is ready to be installed into the rear axle housing. Now I've just got to go and do a little cleaning on the brake backing plate, because these are going on in the same general vicinity, same general area. This stuff here, really easy to get a hold of. You can just go to any auto parts store, just about it, and find that stuff. So, non-hardening forma gasket sealant. Okay. If you want to use that, like I said, you can use a regular silicone. The gray, the orange, the blue, red, whatever. Just use something. Okay. All right. I'm going to pause this just a minute, get over there to the rear axle housing, and show you a little bit more. Okay, y'all. We're back. We're over here at the rear axle. I'm just going to take these nuts off and get them out of the way. Okay. I just had them started on there. I didn't run them down. This is the same backing plate that was on the 8 1/4 and the 9 3/4. Okay, these backing plates work, so there's nothing crazy different about them. They even have the 5th hole right here, so that you can get you that 5th hole right there goes on that bottom stud right there on the axle, or axle housing rather. So that's basically all that is. The 8 3/4 uses all 5 of these holes. The 9 1/4 and the 8 1/4 do not. At least none of them I've ever seen uses all 5 of those holes. Maybe there's some out there that do, but I've never seen one. So, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to clean this up. I'm just going to use my drill with this kind of pad on it. Doing this one-handed, so you can see that not tremendously successful, but getting something done at least. So anyway, I'm going to pause this, clean that up, and I'll show you a little bit more. Okay, y'all. All right. Got my sealant, same stuff I was using earlier, the non-hardening Permatex. I've got it on there. I've got a little bit. I don't have none on the back of my backing plate, but that's okay because I got so much of it here on this, and I got some on the front of the backing plate, and then I've got it on the axle too. So the axle retaining plate. So all I'm going to do here is pretty simple. Just turn this over, turn it around, and put that on there. Okay, like so. Then the axle goes in next. You notice I've already got the grease in there. That's so that'll be next. You see, yep, got that all on there. It just, the backing plate just goes right on the 5 axle retaining studs. So then I'm going to get the axle and put that in next. Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera there in a good location. All right. So here we go. You want to be careful with the seal that's in there when you're putting this in there. You don't want to just go and slam it in there. You want to try to be gentle, okay? And you want to feel for the axle to engage into the differential itself. So, as you can see, it's not all the way in. Got to turn this retaining plate where the flat part is up here. If I don't, it won't clear that bar right there, the parking brake bar. So that will be next. You just want to lift it up a little bit and kind of move it around until it engages the splines in the side gears. You may have to give it just a little push to get it to go the rest of the way on. Then you'll probably be more successful using a socket and an extension and going through this hole right here in the axle itself. Okay, there's an axle right here that they provide, a hole right there in the axle that they provide just to do just that. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to see that hole. Yeah. Let's see. There's like those studs back there. So I'm going to go get a socket and an extension. And I'll be right back. Okay, y'all. I went and put almost all the retaining nuts on here. I went and got a couple tools. Socket and extension and ratchet, and there's a hole, the large hole right there, what I'm using. When you do this, you'll see there's probably 2 other holes. You might even see them in the video. You can't use those. I tried. Socket size is 9/16, so you can, okay. We'll just get that run down there, and then we'll do a little final tightening. There's 5 of them. Oh, while we're here, I want to thank you all for going and making this channel 630 subscriber strong. Really awesome. Blows my mind. It is really something. There are 630 of you all out there that actually want to see what I'm doing. So I really appreciate that. Really is something great to look forward to. So it's really happy. It's very fun to get out here and do this, and it's great to share it with you all, especially those of you who don't have that much knowledge about this stuff. So now some of y'all, this is old hat, but for some of us, it isn't. So I have some experience with this on one previous vehicle, so I thought I would do this video to share some of that information with you all. Okay, now one thing I did not cover is this little doodad right here, and you might be thinking, what on earth is that? Okay, that is the lock that goes on the other side. Okay, let me show you. I'll take you over here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, here we are. All right, now I've covered this in a previous video, but I will go over it again. Okay? All right, back in there, you see that tooth piece right there? All right, that is an adjusting nut. Okay? That adjusts the preload on the axle in the housing. Okay? So I can adjust out the amount of back and forth play. Okay? I can adjust out, I can eliminate the amount of play by adjusting that piece right there, that toothed adjusting nut. Okay? Now, this little part here will go on like, oops, sorry. Okay. It'll go on to like maybe right there. It'll go into one of those notches. The hooked piece will go into one of those notches, and it will retain the whole assembly and keep it from moving around. Okay, that's what it does. That's what it's supposed to do. So, yeah, it'll go on one of those nuts and retain it and keep it from moving around so it doesn't back off. Okay, so now I've got a little light on there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So it's more like, it'll be more like that. Oh, good grief. But anyway, you see what I'm talking about. This part will go in there, and it'll just go in there like so. Okay, you see what I'm talking about? Yeah. All right. Oh, it's Oliver. Come to give us an inspection. You know, give us a CAT scan. So, anyway, all right. So now I would show you the adjusting procedure to adjust this, but there's going to be more videos coming about that. And already this video is 20 minutes. Oh God, it's almost 30 minutes long. So, anyway, I just want to thank you all for watching and tuning in and seeing everything I'm doing here. Okay. There's a lot of work here left to do on this project. So, I would continue working, but it takes a long time to upload videos. I have Model T Internet, which basically means I can have it any speed I want as long as it's slow. So that's the thing, okay? So I really do appreciate you all for watching and everything like that. I do study all of the analytics as much as I can, and I do see that a lot of people are clicking through, and like a 15-minute video, they're watching 3 to 5 minutes, and then longer videos, they're watching 5 to 8 minutes. Warning for you all: if you're clicking through some of these videos and you're not watching everything, what can happen is I'm telling you information you may need to hear, and you're not getting it. Now, I know sometimes some of y'all already have most of the information. You just need those little bits and pieces that I'm providing, and I'm cool with that. But just do your homework. Do your homework. Research. Read up. Figure out what you need to know and what you don't need to be knowing. Figure out what's what, basically. Okay? So, thank you again, and God bless, and have a great one, okay? And Oliver, say bye-bye.